The first time Charlotte Carl believed she might die, she was lying beneath the bright lights of the intensive care unit at St. Peter Hospital. An oxygen tube rested beneath her nose while every breath felt painfully heavy. At 35 years old, Charlotte had spent her life solving everyone else's problems, yet now she was completely alone. She had already called her parents 9 times, but every call went unanswered. They were only 25 minutes away, helping her younger sister move into a new house. Tears filled her eyes as she stared at her silent phone. Finally, she whispered, "I won't call them again." Instead, she searched for another number, one that would quietly change the future of her entire family. For over 10 years, Charlotte had built one of the most trusted home care agencies in central Indiana. Starting with one client and an old van, she had grown the company into a successful business employing 40 caregivers. Every day, she made sure elderly people were never left alone during difficult times. Ironically, when her own life depended on someone showing up, nobody came. Her mother had always smiled and said, "You're the strong one, Charlotte. You'll be fine." Those words once sounded loving, but lying in that hospital bed, they felt painfully different. Charlotte Carl slowly realized her family hadn't admired her strength. They had simply become comfortable depending on it. Weeks before collapsing, Charlotte had noticed something wasn't right. Walking upstairs left her breathless, and a dull pain stayed in her left calf for days. Concerned, her doctor, Jethro, ordered several tests. "I'm worried this could be a blood clot," he explained. "If you develop chest pain or struggle to breathe, don't wait. Go straight to the hospital." Charlotte nodded politely. "I understand." But work quickly pushed the warning aside. Her clients needed help, employees depended on her, and there were schedules to organize. Like always, she convinced herself everyone else's needs came first. She never imagined those ignored symptoms would soon place her between life and death. Very few people knew how much Charlotte quietly sacrificed for her family. Every month she paid a large portion of her parents' assisted living bills. She had also promised the down payment for her younger sister Mia's new house. She never expected praise because helping family felt natural to her. One week before collapsing, she casually mentioned to her mother that her doctor wanted more tests. Her mother barely reacted. "You'll be fine," she replied. "Mia needs us more right now." The conversation ended there. Sitting alone later that evening, Charlotte couldn't explain why those simple words hurt so much. Deep inside, something no longer felt right. Everything changed on a quiet Friday morning inside Charlotte's office. She was discussing weekend schedules with her office manager, Camila, when a crushing pain shot through her chest. Her coffee slipped from her hand and shattered across the floor. The room spun violently before she collapsed beside her desk. "Charlotte, stay with me," Camila shouted as she rushed over and called emergency services. Minutes later, paramedics placed an oxygen mask over Charlotte Carl's face before rushing her into the ambulance. As sirens echoed through the streets toward St. Peter Hospital, one terrifying thought refused to leave her mind. What if this is my last day alive, and my family never even answers my calls? At St. Peter Hospital, doctors moved around Charlotte with frightening speed. Nurses connected wires to her chest while another pushed medicine through an 4-line. A doctor studied the scan, then came closer with a serious face. "Charlotte, you have a blood clot in your lung," he said gently. "It is dangerous, but we are treating it." Charlotte swallowed hard. "Am I going to die?" The doctor paused. "We will do everything we can, but the next 2 days are very important. Please call your family." Charlotte nodded and reached for her phone, still believing they would come running. Charlotte called her mother first. The phone rang until voicemail answered. Her voice shook as she spoke. "Mom, I'm at St. Peter Hospital. They found a clot in my lung. Please call me back. It's serious." She waited 10 minutes, staring at the screen. Nothing happened. Then she called her father. Again, voicemail answered. Left the same message, this time weaker. "Dad, please call me. I'm scared." She placed the phone beside her pillow and whispered, "They probably haven't seen it yet." Even in pain, Charlotte was still making excuses for the people who had ignored her. 2 hours passed inside the hospital room. Charlotte called again and again, but nobody answered. Finally, she opened the family group chat, hoping to understand why. Her heart dropped. Her mother had posted new pictures of Mia's living room filled with boxes. Another picture showed her father carrying one side of a couch while everyone laughed. Beneath the photo, her mother wrote, "So proud of our girl and her beautiful new home." Charlotte stared at the words "our girl" until her eyes burned. They were not unreachable. They were simply busy choosing Mia. A tear slipped down Charlotte's cheek, but she quickly wiped it away. She did not want the nurse to see her breaking. For years, she had paid bills, solved problems, and showed up whenever her family called. When her parents needed money, Charlotte helped. When Mia needed rescue, Charlotte appeared. But now, lying in a hospital bed with machines watching her heartbeat, no one came. "Maybe I was never loved," she whispered. "Maybe I was only useful." The words hurt, but they also felt true. For the first time, Charlotte Carl stopped defending them in her mind. Late that afternoon, Charlotte's phone finally buzzed. Her heart jumped, but the message was from Mia. "OMG, I heard you're in the hospital. Glad the doctors are helping you. Busy unpacking today. Talk later." Charlotte read the message 3 times. There was no "Are you okay?" No "I'm coming." Not even "What room are you in?" Just a careless text and a heart emoji. Charlotte slowly turned the phone face down. The room became very quiet. Then she whispered, "Now I understand." She closed her eyes, not in defeat, but in decision. If her family only remembered her when they needed something, she would soon teach them what silence could cost. There was one person Charlotte had not called yet. Her younger brother, Felix, worked as a schoolteacher 2 towns away. Charlotte hesitated because she hated disturbing anyone, even from a hospital bed. Still, her fear finally became stronger than her pride. She pressed his name. Felix answered quickly. "Charlotte, what's wrong?" Her voice cracked. "Felix, I'm at St. Peter Hospital. I have a blood clot in my lung." He did not waste time asking useless questions. "Which room?" he said. She told him. His voice became firm. "I'm coming now. Don't argue." Before she could say anything, Felix ended the call. 40 minutes later, Felix rushed into Charlotte's hospital room wearing work clothes and dusty shoes. His face turned pale when he saw the oxygen tube beneath her nose. "Charlotte," he whispered, moving straight to her bedside. He took her hand with both of his. "I'm here. I'm not leaving." Those simple words broke something open inside Charlotte. She began to cry, not loudly, but deeply. "I thought nobody would come," she admitted. Felix wiped his eyes and squeezed her hand. "Then everybody else was wrong," he said. "You have me." For the first time since the ambulance, Charlotte Carl felt less alone. Felix stayed through the night. He called his school and arranged for another teacher to cover his classes. When nurses came in to check Charlotte Carl's medication, he woke up every time. When doctors explained her condition, he listened carefully and asked questions. One nurse smiled and said, "Felix, you must love your sister very much." He looked at Charlotte Carl and answered, "She spent her whole life looking after us. Somebody should have looked after her sooner." Charlotte Carl turned her face toward the window so he would not see her crying again. She had spent years giving money and support, but Felix gave her something better. He gave her presence. By the next morning, Charlotte's breathing had improved. The doctor said the danger was reducing, though she still needed rest. While Felix slept in the chair beside her bed, Charlotte Carl stared at the ceiling and thought about her life. She remembered the monthly payments she made for her parents. She remembered the life insurance documents naming them first. She remembered the large down payment waiting for Mia's new house. For years, Charlotte had believed love meant giving until nobody had to ask. But now she saw the truth clearly. Her family had not treated her like a daughter. They had treated her like a bank that could breathe. That morning, Charlotte Carl opened the family chat one more time. Her mother had posted photos of Mia's kitchen, now fully unpacked. Everyone was smiling around pizza boxes. The caption read, "What a blessed weekend for our beautiful girl." Charlotte scrolled slowly through every message. There were jokes, hearts, and congratulations, but not one person mentioned her name. Not one asked if she was alive. She placed the phone face down on the blanket. Her hurt turned into a calm decision. She looked at Felix, asleep in the chair after staying all night. Then Charlotte Carl searched for her lawyer's name and pressed call. "Harry Jackson," she said softly when he answered, "I need you at the hospital today." Harry became quiet after Charlotte Carl explained everything. She told him about the blood clot, the 9 missed calls, Mia's move, and the message that came only after the money mattered. After a long pause, he said, "Charlotte, I will do what you ask, but I need to know something. Are you making a decision, or are you reacting from pain?" Charlotte Carl looked at Felix, still asleep in the chair. Then she answered calmly, "I have been useful to them for years. The moment I became helpless, they disappeared. This is not pain talking, Harry. This is truth finally speaking." Harry sighed softly. "Then I will come today." Before Harry arrived, Charlotte asked to speak with her doctor. When the doctor entered, Charlotte sat up carefully. "I need you to confirm something," she said. "Am I clear enough to make legal decisions?" The doctor studied her face and checked her chart. "Yes, Charlotte," he replied. "Your oxygen level is stable, and your mind is clear. I can document that." Felix woke up and listened silently. Charlotte nodded. "Thank you. I don't want anyone later claiming I was confused." The doctor understood. "I will put it in your record," he said. For the first time in days, Charlotte felt prepared. By afternoon, Harry entered the room with a brown leather folder. He greeted Felix, then placed documents on the tray beside Charlotte's bed. "We will go slowly," he said. "You will read everything before signing." Charlotte nodded. First, she removed her parents from her life insurance policy. Then she changed her will, leaving most of her estate to Felix and a caregiver support fund inside her company. Next, she stopped the monthly payments covering her parents' assisted living. Finally, she withdrew the down payment meant for Mia's house before the transfer cleared. Each signature landed quietly on the paper. No shouting. No revenge speech. Just truth becoming official. When the final document was signed, Charlotte leaned back against the pillows and released a breath she did not know she was holding. Harry gathered the papers carefully. "Everything is legal and witnessed," he said. "Nobody can easily undo this." Felix looked at his sister with sadness and pride mixed together. "Charlotte, are you sure?" he asked gently. She nodded. "I am not taking love away from them, Felix. I am only removing the money they confused for love." The room became silent. Outside the window, life continued normally, but inside Charlotte Carl, something old had ended. She was no longer the family safety net. Charlotte did not call her parents to announce what she had done. She did not text Mia. She simply placed copies of the documents inside her hospital drawer and rested. For the next 2 days, Felix stayed close, bringing food, books, and quiet company. Her parents still did not visit. Mia still did not call to ask how she was. Their silence no longer surprised Charlotte. It almost felt peaceful. She knew they would come eventually, but not because they suddenly cared. They would come when the bank called, when the assisted living office sent notice, and when Mia's house began slipping away. That was when Charlotte's family would finally remember she existed. The first sign came from Mia's husband. He called Felix instead of, which told her everything. Felix put the call on speaker. The man's voice sounded nervous. "The bank says the down payment did not arrive. Do you know what happened?" Felix looked at Charlotte before answering. "Maybe you should ask Charlotte Carl. She is still at St. Peter Hospital, remember?" There was a short silence. Then the man mumbled, "We have just been busy." Charlotte closed her eyes. Even now, nobody asked if she was healing. They only asked why the money had stopped. That evening, Mia finally called Charlotte directly. For one brief second, Charlotte hoped her sister would ask about her health. Instead, Mia sounded irritated. "Charlotte, is there a problem with the house money? The bank says the transfer failed." Charlotte held the phone calmly. "Mia, I called our parents 9 times from intensive care. You sent me one careless text and kept unpacking." Mia sighed. "What does that have to do with the house?" The question was so honest that Charlotte Carl almost laughed. "It has everything to do with it," she said. "Come to the hospital if you want answers." Within an hour, Charlotte Carl's mother started calling non-stop. The same phone that had stayed silent when Charlotte could barely breathe now lit up again and again. Felix watched the screen with disgust. "Are you going to answer?" he asked. Charlotte shook her head. No. She had 9 chances. The calls kept coming until the battery almost died. Charlotte placed the phone face down and looked toward the door. "They will come tomorrow," she said quietly. Felix pulled his chair closer. "Then I will be here too." Charlotte nodded. For once, she would not face her family alone. That night, Charlotte called Harry again. She asked him to bring copies of every document: the changed will, the new insurance papers, the stopped payments, and the withdrawn down payment. Harry listened carefully, then said, "Do not argue with them tomorrow. Let the papers speak." Charlotte repeated the words softly. "Let the papers speak." She wrote them on the back of a hospital menu and placed it beside her bed. All her life, her mother had talked over her pain until Charlotte felt guilty for feeling it. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow, facts would sit on the table where excuses used to stand. Late that night, Charlotte's father called alone. She almost ignored it, but something made her answer. His voice sounded broken. "Charlotte, is it true you called 9 times?" Charlotte whispered. "Yes, Dad." He breathed shakily. "I felt the phone buzzing. Your mother said we would check later. I listened to her instead of my daughter." Silence filled the line. Then he began to cry. "I was carrying a couch while you were fighting for your life." Charlotte did not comfort him the way she normally would. She only said gently, "I am going to recover, but things will never return to how they were." Her father answered, "I know. And maybe they should not." The next morning, Charlotte's hospital room became very quiet before the storm arrived. Felix sat beside her bed, and Harry stood near the window with a folder in his hand. Charlotte looked at both men and said, "No shouting today. I want truth, not drama." Felix nodded. "I understand." A few minutes later, footsteps stopped outside the door. Then Mia entered first, her face tight with fear. Their mother followed with flowers and a forced smile. Their father came last, looking ashamed. Charlotte watched them carefully. After 5 days of silence, her family had finally arrived. Her mother placed the flowers on the tray table and leaned close. "Oh, Charlotte, look at you. You gave us such a scare." Charlotte stared at her calmly. "Did I?" Her mother's smile weakened. "Of course. But you are strong. I knew you would be fine." Felix shifted in his chair, but Charlotte raised one hand to stop him. Then her mother quickly added, "Now, Mia says there is confusion with the bank. Let us fix that little problem." The room became still. Charlotte slowly moved the flowers aside. "That little problem," she said, "is why you came." Harry Jackson stepped forward and placed the documents on the tray table. Charlotte spoke clearly. "While I was in this bed, I changed my will. I changed my life insurance. I stopped the assisted living payments. I also withdrew the down payment for Mia's house." Mia gasped. Her mother froze. Their father lowered his head. Charlotte continued, "I called 9 times when doctors were not sure I would live. Nobody came. So I changed everything from the bed you refused to visit." No one spoke. Only the monitor beside her bed kept beeping, steady and loud. Her mother recovered first. "How could you do this to us?" she cried. "Charlotte, this is cruel. We were helping your sister. We did not know it was that serious." Charlotte looked at her without blinking. "I said intensive care." Her mother waved a hand. People exaggerate when they are scared. Felix stood up angrily, but Harry touched his arm. Charlotte stayed calm. I am not arguing today. The papers are done. Harry added, everything was signed properly. Her doctor confirmed her mental capacity. The documents are valid. For the first time, her mother had no easy answer. Mia stepped forward with tears in her eyes. So you are taking my house? Charlotte shook her head. No, Mia. I am just not paying for it anymore. Mia looked stunned, as if the difference had never occurred to her. But we already moved in, she whispered. Charlotte answered gently, you moved into a house you expected me to carry. Her father covered his face with one hand. Her mother whispered, family helps family. Charlotte looked at all of them and said, family also shows up when someone is dying. That sentence ended every excuse in the room. Mia began crying harder, but Charlotte no longer rushed to comfort her. 4 years, Charlotte had softened every consequence before Mia could feel it. Not this time. Mia, she said calmly, you called me when the money stopped, not when my breathing almost stopped. Mia opened her mouth, then closed it again. Their mother snapped, that is unfair. Charlotte turned to her. No, it is accurate. The room went silent again. Felix stood beside the bed, his hand resting gently on Charlotte's shoulder. For the first time in her life, she did not feel alone inside her own family. Her father stepped forward slowly. Charlotte, I am sorry, he said, voice shaking. I should have come. I should have answered. Her mother glared at him, but he continued. No. She needs to hear it. We failed her. Charlotte looked at him carefully. She saw shame in his face, but also truth. Thank you for saying that, she replied. Her father wiped his eyes. I do not deserve forgiveness today. Charlotte nodded. Maybe not today. But honesty is a beginning. Mia looked away, embarrassed. Their mother crossed her arms, still fighting a battle everyone else had already lost. Charlotte then pointed toward the documents. The will and insurance will not change back, she said. Those now belong to Felix and the Caregiver Support Fund. That decision is final. Her mother gasped. Felix? He did nothing. Charlotte looked at her brother. He came. The 2 words landed heavily in the room. Felix lowered his eyes, but Charlotte reached for his hand. He sat in that chair when the machines were beeping. He asked for nothing. That is what love looked like when I needed it. Her mother had no answer because the truth was too simple to twist. After a long silence, Charlotte spoke again. I will not leave my parents homeless, she said. But help will come with conditions. Her mother looked up quickly. Charlotte, you cannot treat your own parents like strangers. Charlotte answered, then stop treating me like a wallet. Even Mia looked shocked by the sentence. Charlotte continued, if I restore part of the assisted living support, there must be respect, honesty, and effort. No more pretending I am fine so nobody has to care. No more calling me only when something costs money. Harry wrote the conditions down as she spoke. The first condition was simple. Her parents had to admit, clearly and without excuses, that they ignored Charlotte when she needed them most. Her father nodded immediately. We ignored you, he said. You were in danger, and we chose the couch. His voice broke again. Her mother stared at the floor. Charlotte waited. The silence stretched until even Mia whispered, Mom, just say it. Finally, her mother lifted her eyes. I should have come, she said stiffly. It was not warm. It was not perfect. But it was true. Charlotte accepted it with a small nod, knowing that truth was the only place healing could begin. The second condition was harder. Charlotte told her family that love had to move in both directions now. I am done being the person everyone leans on while nobody checks if I am breaking, she said. Mia wiped her tears. I didn't think you needed us like that. Charlotte nodded sadly. That is the problem. Nobody thought. Felix stayed quiet, but his presence said enough. Her father promised to visit, call, and show up without waiting for a crisis. Her mother said nothing for a long moment, then whispered, "I will try." Charlotte Carl did not call it enough, but she accepted it as a start. Mia sat near the foot of the bed, her voice smaller than Charlotte had ever heard it. "What happens to the house now?" she asked. Charlotte answered honestly. "You and your husband will have to choose what you can truly afford." Mia looked down. "We may lose it," Charlotte said gently. "Then you will learn to live within your own strength, not mine." The words were not cruel, but they were firm. Mia cried quietly, and this time Charlotte let her. Some tears were not meant to be rescued. Some tears were lessons arriving late. When the visit ended, Mia hugged Charlotte awkwardly and whispered, "I'm sorry I didn't come sooner." Charlotte replied, "I hope next time you come before something disappears." Her mother kissed her forehead, but this time she did not say, "You're the strong one." Her father stayed behind after the others left and sat beside Felix in the uncomfortable chair. For the first time, Charlotte saw both men keeping watch over her. She closed her eyes and breathed slowly. The machines still beeped, but they no longer sounded lonely. They sounded like proof that she had survived. Weeks later, Charlotte returned home with medication, doctor appointments, and a new understanding of her life. Mia eventually bought a smaller house with her own money. Her parents remained in assisted living, but the support now came with respect and accountability. Felix visited often, sometimes bringing dinner and sometimes bringing nothing but quiet company. Harry kept the documents unchanged. Charlotte did not regret that. Her estate, her insurance, and her future now belonged to the people and causes that had shown up when it mattered. She had not destroyed her family. She had only stopped funding the version of it that erased her. In the end, Charlotte learned that family is not proven by shared blood, old photos, or sweet words spoken after the damage is done. Family is proven in the room where the machines are beeping and nobody gains anything by staying. She never forgot the 9 unanswered calls or the couch that mattered more than her breathing. But she also never forgot Felix walking through the hospital door with fear in his eyes and love in his hands. From that day forward, Charlotte stopped being the invisible beam holding up everyone else's house. She became a woman with boundaries, peace, and a life finally built around those who knew how to show up. Kindly subscribe to Abbey Wealth Folktales.